It comes to me in deepest dreams. It comes to me in deepest dreams. It feels so real, so far it seems. The light it guides away from fear. The compass point that brought me here. In time I learned to find my wings. Escape the shadows my mind brings. Until the darkness splits in half and lets the light reveal the path. Sunlight creeping through the blinds. Make my eyes go wide. Reveal the secrets I have kept from myself. Light breaking the facade. A frozen path now thought. Reveal the mysteries buried deep within me. Alright, what's up everybody? Haven't been on stream because I wanted to give this a couple of days to settle in, to not listen to it as much, to not obsess over it. Kind of one of the most important parts of the mixing and mastering process is to give yourself a break, give yourself time. One of the things that happens when you listen to a song over and over, especially when you do it the way that I'm doing it, where I'm recording all the parts and I'm working on all the different things, is that it gets a little bit too familiar. You start obsessing over little details or missing big ones, both of which are things that happen pretty regularly for me, where there's some big things that I don't like, where when I'm coming back, I'm like, all right, I wish I would have made a different decision, or I wish I would have done this differently, or I wish whatever. And I know already after listening to this, I cheated a little bit and listened to this before I was on stream. And, there's some notes I want to take. And so some great tips that I've been given as part of this mixing process. So I'm a perfectionist. I'm somebody where I can sit with this mix and tweak it to death. I could tweak it literally forever. It's never going to be good enough for whatever standard I have in my head. And there's things about the song that, in general, I know that, I just wish were different, but the song is what the song is. And being willing and able to set things down if I have to let certain things go, whatever it is that I need to do to make things work a lot of the time, I'll come back and try to change everything. So in this case, that's not what I want to do. In this case, I want to give a solid listen through. I want to perfect some things about the song. I want to make some tweaks to the song. There's some things that I definitely know are wrong. And especially on the last stream when I was talking about this song when it first started is, it's something that, when I'm writing as quick as I am and I'm going through the process of trying to get things done really quickly, that it just becomes problematic in that case. So for those of you who aren't familiar with what this song is, I participate in a songwriting subreddit called Song a Week. And so every week what I do is go through the process of writing a song. Where this song started, for those of you who might have missed the earlier parts of the stream, was just a cell phone recording that sounded like this. To me in deepest dreams, it feels so real, so far it seems. The light, it's waiting in the past. That became the rest of the song that you're hearing here. And so one of the most important things to do is to just go through the whole track and take some notes. So I'm actually going to open up my notepad here because I want to go through, and rather than just obsessing about every single little detail or every little single thing, I want to take some notes that fit the overall feel of the track. And then through mixing, through changes, through various things that are happening, I want to make sure that I achieve those goals or fix those specific things. And what that requires is one full listen through to the track to go, all right, here's what's right, here's what's wrong, here's what's working, here's what isn't. And so I want to take that listen through. One thing that I already know that I'm just going to add in here is that I don't like the BG Vox for Sunlight. The effects aren't working, or it's not as full as I want it to be. And I'll point out where that is when it's coming up through the track. But here's what we're going to do as today's process, at the very least. We're going to listen through the whole track. We're going to take some notes on what's happening here. and what I like, what I don't like, what I think could be changed. I need to get my volume right on my end, and then we're going to do that. So we'll listen to the whole track, we'll take some notes, then we'll go through and we'll start the fixing process. So here we go. To me in deepest dreams, it feels so real. So far it seems the light it guides away from fear. The compass point that brought me here. In time I learned to find my wings, escape the shadows my mind brings, until the darkness splits in half and lets the light reveal the path. So let's talk about it. So first of all, I'm going to save this project as Mix V2 because this is way after we did the original one. It's 4 days later, as you can see from the last version of this track that we sold. So let's talk through some of these notes. I think the bass in particular. So the biggest, and these two little pluses I'm putting are just things that I noticed a couple of times. In general, the bass just feels a little bit too overwhelming, a little bit too loud. Now, here's the thing. This has really got to be the first change I make, because once I change that, it's going to change a lot of the dynamics of the mix overall. It's going to make some things more present, so I may not need to do some of these changes. Overall, there's probably a bit too much reverb, or it may not be that there's too much reverb. It might be that there's a little bit too much uncontrolled reverb that's going on, in particular as related to the effects on the sunlight thing. I don't necessarily like Deepest Dreams, this line at the beginning, being involved at all in the in those big sweeping effects. I don't think that it's working. I'm going to try to move it to the primary effects and see how that comes across. So let's start with turning the bass down a little bit. So I'm going to go to, I believe 4 is our first chorus. All right, so let's put this here. And let's work through this and try to see what it sounds like with the bass turned down. One great test that I've heard a lot, mentioned a lot, is that sometimes you want to take things down in about 2 to 3 dB intervals. See, do you miss it when it's gone? So there's a 3 dB test that you can do. Take away 3 dB, add 3 dB. We already know this is too loud, so I'm going to take it down 3 dB and see what it sounds like. Was maybe there. We might be able to come up with Gauche, but I think about 4 made the bass go far enough down to where it's not overwhelming everything. Solves that problem to some degree. I'm going to leave that there. So let's go to this effects over here for the sunlight thing, because first of all, let's just try, and what I was trying to do with this was really create like a repeating effect, and I just don't think that what I was trying to do here really worked out. It was a bit too much. So I'm going to keep the doubler and move that up top, but basically I'm going to remove this. I'm going to remove this EQ for now. Let's just start with the delay. I'm going to pull this off and see where we can get it with this. So probably too much delay there. Feedback on it. That's getting a bit closer to the delay I want, I think. That's a bit too much, so let's try 80. Leave it at about that. That effect is part of our problem. It's just too much. And I want a large effect. I want it to have a big and deep effect, but that's probably just too much. Context of the mix. That's not bad. Let's see how it works. Still a bit too much. So this one is the low. Quite a bit better. Let's pull the effect down a little. Because it was creating a lot of mess in the vocal range. You couldn't understand what that was. It was a bit too far back, so listen to how it sounds with Deepest Dreams out of that big reverb chamber. It comes to me in deep. It comes to me in deepest dreams. It comes to me in deepest dreams. Alright, it's better than it was. I had an FX on this before. I'm surprised I don't have just a compressor on this. Let's try it. Let's throw Supercharger on there with vocals and see what we get out of it. EQ it there. What was my release time on that? I wasn't looking. Oops. Okay during this part. Sounding a little bit less cluttered up during that part. Let's hear how. So what was next on my list? Snare could be a little bit louder, so let's experiment with that. See what happens if we turn it up a little bit. little EQ work too to make it a little bit poppier, because when I brought up the volume it felt a little dull. Let's see how it feels mixed in with the chorus. And again, this might be a bit much, but let's see. Within me, I'm going for broke. Though my mind is golden, I'm singing for gold. Though my treasure is stolen, I'm lost on the path. Though I've been here before, still hope is a stowaway. My heart is a stowaway, yeah. Much clickier, much punchier, cutting through the mix a little bit better with that high end. I didn't use a crush on this. You know, one thing I didn't put in the notes and I'm hearing it now is the cymbals probably need to come down. All right, so let's go with that. Within me, I'm going for broke. Though my mind is golden, I'm singing for gold. Though my treasure is stolen, I'm lost on the path. Though I've been here before, still hope is a stowaway. My heart is a stowaway, yeah. A stowaway. Deep within me, I'm going for broke. Though my mind is golden, I'm singing for gold. Though my treasure is stolen, I'm lost on the path. I'm already happier with where this is. With the changed effects on that. That made a big difference for me. I was trying to do a repeating delay type thing that just really wasn't working for whatever reason. And again, that's sometimes you do that. You're experimenting when you're writing the song or when you're playing the instruments, and then you come back to it and you're like, all right, I know what I was trying to do, but it just didn't work out. All right, what's our next fix? Snare could be louder. Yes. So yes and EQ. Maybe a touch too much verb. I was especially noticing that during the verses. So let's see what we got going on here. It comes to me in deepest dreams. It feels so real, so far it seems. The light it guides away from fear. The compass point that brought me here. In time I learned to find my wings, escape the shadows my mind brings, until the darkness splits in half and lets the light reveal a path. Sunlight creeping through the blinds, make my eyes go wide, reveal the secrets I had. So I noticed during 3 here that the hi-hat's getting a little lost, but I don't think I want to bring up the whole room, so I might bring up our hi-hat a little bit. Sunlight creeping through the blinds, make my eyes go wide, reveal the secrets I have kept from myself. Light breaking the facade, a frozen path now thawed, reveal the mysteries buried deep within me. I think the vocals are just sounding much cleaner with a little bit less effects. I did my 3D or 3dB pull down. I think that was pretty good. I don't know how I feel now that we've cleaned up the mix a bit about more reverb on the guitar. But yeah, I mean, I pretty much had that. Too much reverb on the Vox harmony. I don't know about that. Listen to this again. Sunlight creeping through the blinds, make my eyes go wide, play with the guitar a little bit. I don't think it's that far off. I think we're pretty close to where I want to be on the whole thing again with those minor changes. We basically covered all these hit list items. The bass was a bit too loud. I agree that the effects on the vocals sound a lot better on the Sunlight thing. I pulled this out. It sounds a lot more present. Snare sounds totally different now, which is good. Too much verb on the vocals. I agree with it. Sounds a little better with less. More reverb on the guitar. We'll see. I think all these things were true, and we are cleaner now than we were before. Going for broke. Much better shape than we were before. I'm going back and forth on that guitar right now. So I'm gonna pull these two out of here since we're not using the piano or the original right now. But what I might try to do is, so now we have the other day I just downloaded some stuff from Spitfire Labs. I know that there's some strings in here. So how do I change this? So let's mess around with their strings and see. So I got these frozen strings might be, what do we have here? let's load that. So, since I haven't messed with this plugin before, what is this? Okay, so that gives me reverb controls. What is this? Alright. Is that like compression? Let's see here. So that's very strange. I wonder if that's something that I did there. Go back to our ensemble. Load that. What is this? Just volume. Alright. So I haven't messed with this before, so I have to play with it a little bit to see. Let's throw in, I gotta find my part here, but let's see what we can do. Feel the mysteries buried deep within me. I'm going for broke, though my mind is golden. Feel the mysteries buried deep within me. I'm going for broke, though my mind is golden. I'm singing for gold, though my treasure is golden. I'm lost on the path, though I've been here before. Still hope is a stowaway. My heart is a stowaway, yeah, a stowaway. Like how much punch there is to that. Let's try it with this and just see. It's too far off. There's too much punchiness in that I don't like. Mess around with this and see what we get. Feel the mysteries buried deep within me. I'm going for broke, though my mind is golden. I'm singing for gold, though my treasure is golden. I'm lost on the path, though I've been here before. Still hope is a stowaway. My heart is a stowaway, yeah, a stowaway. That's not really standing out to me much either. It's got an interesting sound, but it's not quite what I'm hoping for. Yeah. there's some interesting stuff in there. But let me go back to my factory library real quick. And let's mess with that a little bit. And oh wait, it's gonna require extra channels, so let's just remove that. Oops. And let's go with contact. Let's test out the factory ensemble with that and see. The factory ensemble has its pluses and minuses as well. But let's work with our strings. Let's go with the string ensemble. Might be too much, but let's give it a shot. Maybe get a part down and see. I was hoping that there would be something more that would bring to the table, but overall, even with that part, I don't like it. I think it's too much. I think we might just need to leave it as it is. So we can take a listen and hear what the difference is. So in my renders, I have the song that we just did before. I'm like, what song am I working on? I forget. All right, so let's use the mix from before. We'll be able to hear what the difference is. So I'm gonna bring that in. It should be roughly the same length. So what we'll do is I want to make sure if I saw. Let's listen to our loudest part here at 7 and hear the difference between the two mixes and see if I'm happy with where we've kind of ended up. Going for broke, though my mind is broken. I'm digging for gold, though my treasure is stolen. I'm lost on the path, though I've been here before. My home is a stowaway, my heart is a stowaway. So on that old mix, kind of all the same stuff that I was thinking is definitely there. The snare is a bit out. I still don't know if the sunlight and the bass is a bit too loud. I still don't know if the sunlight is exactly doing what I want. Let's try that one more time. Going for broke, though my mind is broken. I'm digging for gold, though my treasure is stolen. I'm lost on the path, though I've been here before. My home is a stowaway, my heart is a stowaway, yeah, a stowaway. it. Better off where we are now than when we started. So I'm going to pull this out of here. And then one thing I haven't been doing with this is reference mixing it at all. I normally would have a reference mix, but I haven't really thought about that for this track yet. I'm happy with the new mix and where we are right now. The snare's popping a lot better and sticking with the track. The bass isn't overwhelming everything. There's a part of me that always wants to bring it up, but on other systems in particular, what feels, this is the not great part about these monitors, is they really tend to play some tricks. Maybe it's the Room 2 with the bass, where the bass doesn't feel loud enough, but then when you listen to it on other systems or headphones or any of that stuff, the bass just overloads everything. Sunlight. I do. It's just not hitting hard enough. Let me try another. Yeah, but the de-esser might screw it up a little bit. Where are we on this? Going for broke. DS on the end of that, because that sunlight is hitting just a bit too hard. Let's see. When you turn your de-esser threshold up to negative 555, all right, so mix version 2, I think it's improved on some of the issues of that. So I'm going to pull this in. So, well, Voxengo, or you hear the playback while it's doing the rendering, which we don't want that. Otherwise, your chipmunk version of the song at double the speed or whatever it is. So we'll do another de facto master. I'll probably play a little bit more with this. And again, I haven't put together a reference for this. I have a lot of tracks that I regularly use as reference, but I think for this, I'm just going to forego that for right now, coming up with the concept. I think overall, the guitars are standing out a bit more. We got where we wanted to with the mix. Song still feels nice and heavy. Cleaned up that bit with the Sunlight vocals. They don't sound as ridiculous as they did before. Not that they were so far off before, but again, the effect I was trying to go for just wasn't really working. And sometimes that happens. Pretty common, actually. Try to make that decision, like, all right, that's not really working. So that's where we are. We'll render this. We'll open another tab, throw it in there. Need to come up with some more reference songs. I need to dig up my CDs and start doing stuff with that so I can get stuff that isn't crushed MP3. That's always the issue with a lot of these, is that you're dealing with not great MP3 sources in here. So that isn't always the best. This part also is taxing my computer, so I know that it may be a little intense on the stream, but it is what it is. CPU usage isn't too awful, you know. Just have to see. It's almost done. All right. So let's pull this bad boy up. I got it ready. All right, so we'll reopen a new project tab. Alright, so I'm gonna open my master v1 in here. I'll pull this bad boy out. We'll put in the new one, the new mix. So we can probably leave the settings about where they were before and see where we've landed right now. First, I want to save this as v2. Let's pull this way up. All right, so let's see where we are if I just do that. Jesus Christ. I didn't turn my speakers down, which is a problem. So we don't want to do that. Want to get them to about halfway is my kind of de facto mastering point. So let's bypass this and just see where we are with saturation first. Sounds perfect. Oh, I don't have Voxengo on. So you're just going to be hearing this through the mic, which I'm sure sounds really awesome. All right, there we go. Alright, so I don't think I'm going to stick with the assistant settings we used before. So this is where it had us before, but I think we've cleaned up some of this mess. We'll have to see, though. Let's try our mastering assistant to get ourselves a new starting point, which is going to turn it down way too low. I already know that. So, no, I pretty much kept it the same, cut a little bit off the high. When it boosts the overall low here, which isn't much, it's still not doing too much to our mix. I think this is like half a dB, yeah, half a dB. So it's not doing too much, just enhancing the low end a little bit. Cuts a little off the cymbals and stuff on the high end. So let's see where we are now. Going for broke, though my mind is broken. I'm singing for gold, though my treasure is... So I try not to let my highest peaks get too far above 6 over here, which is actually -8, which is still a bit too loud, but you know, it's going to get brought down by the streaming services anyway. And you know, I like to get it competitive. Unfortunately, I don't necessarily love that you crush the dynamic range out of a lot of this stuff, but going for broke, though my mind is broken. I'm singing for gold, though my treasure is stolen. I'm lost. It's doing okay. There was a little bit too much distortion on the little bit too much distortion when I was turning it up with that much saturation. You know, tough balancing act between wanting it to sound more analog, more compressed, and not a ton else I would do here. I think that pretty much made the changes that I wanted to make to this. So we'll get this bad boy out and we'll update our SoundCloud links with this guy. And then, you know, as always, mixing is a continual. It comes to me. Alright, so I'm gonna mute. Yeah, it's still doing whatever weird stuff it's doing. So I don't want it to continue doing that. During the master, it does some crazy stuff there, which is bad. So we'll update that. Again, I think the snare is a bit poppier. The bass is a little less loud. The mix is in better position. I know that I could automate and bring this up a little bit, but I think I'm good with where it is for this minute. Might be something I come back and do later to perfect it a little bit more, bring that up, but I want it to be a little bit quieter than the rest of the mix as it comes in, which is where we are. Otherwise, I haven't listened to any of the other songs for Song of the Week this week, which is a bit of a problem. I should do that and leave some feedback. Maybe that's something we can do here on the stream. For those of you who don't pay attention to it, I highly recommend that you check it out. It's such a cool group of people. Alright, so now we'll do the fun administrative stuff that everyone wants to see, which is fix the MP3 tags. So we'll grab those two. Alright, so we got that ready. Now we'll fix that on SoundCloud to update it to the newest version. This is pretty much the reason I pay for SoundCloud Premium, because I change versions of the song all the time. All my spam likes are doing so well. If you don't follow me on SoundCloud, this is a good segue. Oh, I forgot I was making that solo for Scott the other day. If you don't follow me on SoundCloud or the major streaming services, you can do that there. SoundCloud tends to be where I put the first versions of things to perfect it and play with it and get it right. So in this case, that's exactly what I did. And then normally I'll wait a week or two, listen to it, give it a few other speaker tests, listen to it on my Bluetooth speakers, listen to it in the car, listen to it wherever. And a lot of times that's, you know, when I'll go, all right, it's ready for the streaming services, or there's more changes I need to make, or whatever it is that I want to do with the project at that point. So we'll upload this, and then let's listen to some Song of the Week stuff here and see what we're thinking and what is going on with the other songwriters, because I was fortunate enough to get some feedback already this week, and I know that I have been bad. And it's kind of neat to experience everything across different genres and all that stuff. Let's change my stream title. Listening through other Song Week tracks for feedback. Alright. So I'll update that since we're about to start doing different stuff and I'm not necessarily just listening to my own track over and over and over again, which is always fun. Oh, the only problem is the screen capture thing doesn't work. Let's see, how can I... I didn't even look at what this week's theme is. I haven't started writing it for this week, which is something I probably need to start doing. Syncopation. That's something, so we'll save that. Whoops. So now have me logged in. Log me in, polls. Log me in. I need to save that. Syncopation. So we'll listen to that. Alright, let's Let's listen to this guy. Alright, so I need to figure out a way, because system audio doesn't work, which is why through the DAW I end up using Voxengo. So we'll save all of our projects. We'll close out of the DAW for now. Let's see if I can actually get that to work if I add another source here. It says display capture. So I'm gonna pull this out. Yeah, I don't think that's gonna work. I've never been able to get the audio output capture. Trying it right now. Let's see. Let's see if default will work. I doubt it. Hey, it is. I guess it works for other system audio, just not stuff out of the DAW. All right, so let's listen through our other Song of Week submissions. For those of you who don't know where to find this stuff, or if you want to go and find it afterwards, I'll post this in the chat. And then it's Song of Week. So this is what I'm listening to right now, and let's see what we think. I also try to follow all the artists that we listen to on this stream when it's happening. So there it is. There's some cool stuff going on in this track. I really like as you've seen the feedback, I always try to say whether I like the genre or not, because a lot of times there's genres, this genre I happen to like, but I'm always looking for what's the standout part of the piece for me. And this, obviously the piano is leading it, so that's the leader of the melody. But for me, what I tend to find or listen to or hear in a lot of these different songs are the additional elements. So that theremin style synth that's going on in this is pretty neat. Something that could go behind like a commercial or a dramatic scene. Felt a lot like that. Quiero bailar. Let's see what this is. Oh, the theme for this week was foreign language, so I guess that's important.
Caminando en la zona romántica, estamos bajo los geles garrafas. Tus caderas tan suaves, con los tambores y los claves. Cántame esa canción de amor. Cierras mis ojos, abrir mi corazón. Cántame esa canción de amor, abrir mi corazón, abrir mi alma. Quiero bailar contigo, oh te quiero bailar y planear conmigo, oh te quiero bailar. Yo estoy muy cautivado, tus palabras son diamante, el rugido del océano, la prisa en mi mente. Cántame esa canción de amor, cierras mis ojos, abrir mi corazón. Cántame esa canción de amor, abrir mi corazón, abrir mi alma. Quiero bailar contigo, oh te quiero bailar y planear conmigo, oh te quiero bailar contigo.
I like that there's
este sonido, mueve tu cuerpo, mueve tu cuerpo. Cuando escuches este sonido, mueve tu cuerpo, mueve tu cuerpo. Cuando ves la puesta del sol, es hora de dejarlo todo en la casa de los santos debes. Mueve tu cuerpo, mueve tu cuerpo. Bailar contigo, oh te quiero bailar y planear conmigo, oh te quiero bailar contigo, bailar contigo, te quiero bailar y planear conmigo, quiero bailar.
I appreciate the genre tribute that was going on in that song, and there was some interesting stuff, especially that breakdown at the 220 mark. Felt it almost had like it reminded me a little bit of Rico Suave a little bit, but the song is really well done, well produced, nice balance. I probably would have liked the chorus to come up a bit more. I could have put that in there in a constructive criticism part. The chorus could have like punched a bit harder when it came in, but I think that's a minor thing. All right, on to JC's Everyone Is.
Bottle breaks the second it hits the ground. The crowd joins on the glass, scattered in mass on Seagull Street all around. You thrown it in the air. You weren't scared of what destruction came. Well, I can relate, 'cause the crash that it made was like someone calling out my name. You know that it's summer, and every night is tattooed with the smell of cigarettes
having some trouble understanding the vocals, which is sad when one of the artists tells you I really worked on the lyrics on this one. Clearly there's a lot of words, but I'm having trouble personally hearing the lyrics. Maybe you guys aren't. Maybe it's too quiet, but feels about right. Vocal style definitely sounds a lot like the Pixies to me.
And I'm always ready to split. Living every day like I'm betting the odds of the lottery I'll never win. She says, honey, don't you know everyone is? You know you looked good when you met me at the condo.
Alright, not necessarily my favorite genre, so I think I've heard what I'm listening to give some feedback. It's a bit difficult to understand what you were saying. Alright, I'm going to put that in. That was Everyone by JC, and again, if you're watching this, especially on the replay, make sure to follow all these artists. Everyone here, I know, puts a ton of work into this, myself included. You saw my process this week, so. Alright, Tattered Engraving, 1912 language. Now follow. As you can hear, and I mentioned earlier, there's so many different genres going on here, even with what we've jumped around between Latin pop, acoustic guy with a guitar, now this, which is doom drone. Given my feedback there, I think, again, not my favorite genre, so enough to give feedback for, though.
Baby cheese. Baby cheese.
The Baby
outrage.
Cheese Outrage song.
Baby cheese.
Why you gotta be so mad? Why you gotta be so mad about cheese? Yeah. Why you gotta be so mad about cheese? Yeah.
Maybe they're lactose intolerant. Maybe that's what they're mad about.
It's only a dairy product. You don't gotta get all worked up. 'Cause dairy comes from cows, and that's the reason how. You gotta face the cheese. You gotta face the cheese, yeah. You gotta face the cheese. You gotta face.
I don't really have a ton to say about that one. Not my favorite genre. I don't really have a comment for that. I gotta respond to the ones on my track here. always appreciate those people that take the time to listen to the tracks. That's why I try to listen to all the tracks I can, give all the commentary that I would want to give.
I wasn't looking for a friend, but apparently you were. You would show up here every day in the field while I work. You seem to wonder why I don't just up and fly and leave this work behind me. Oh, I wasn't looking for a friend, but apparently you knew. She's been gone for 3 years now, or is it only 2? You have no need for me. I used to chase you from the apple tree, but now it makes me smile to see you here again. When I look at you like I just wanna leave, you look back as if to say, just use your wings. Silly bird. I wasn't looking for a friend, but there you are. Looking at me like I'm a dummy.
I was logged into the wrong YouTube channel.
See you later.
That was well done. Very strong Death Cab vibes. Really well mixed. Yeah, very well done. I think I listened. No, I didn't listen to this. What's this? Datsun
Quando vivo solo suena un horizonte falto de palabras. En las sombras y entre luces todo es negro para mi mirada. Si tú no estás junto a mí, aquí tú en tu mundo separado del mío por un abismo. Oye, llámame, yo volaré a tu mundo lejano. Por ti volaré. Espera que llegaré. Mi fin de trayecto eres tú, para vivirlo los dos por ti.
I don't know what's going on there, but it sounded good to me for opera.
So good to see you again at your house warming potluck. All these reunited friends, we will be running amok. Hello, I thank you, excuse me, I'm sorry. Konnichiwa.
for inviting me. Red Solo cup filled with wine, playing Super Mario 3, Curtis Mayfield Superfly. Hello, I thank you, excuse me, I'm sorry. Arigato. Cleaning up the kitchen space, we must have drank half a case. Stumbled down the split staircase, oh please stop spinning the place. Hello, I thank you, excuse me, I'm sorry. Send me my sin. Avocado piñata, exploded in the garage. Sorry about the aroma, the vomit looks camouflaged. Hello, I thank you, excuse me, I'm sorry. Come on aside.
Exactly what was promised. Funny folk sounding song. The guitar playing was really, really well done in that. Super solid guitar playing. The vocals were mixed. The track sounded full despite just being kind of an acoustic song. A lot of times people record them too quiet. Well mixed, well done. Let's see.
Hear my call from your window at night. Grab your coat, it'll be alright. It'll be alright. Jump in and take my hand. We'll set out for foreign lands all night. Oh, oh, what a sight. This town is all we've known. We need to break out on our own. Let's sail to far-off destinations, cast away and shed our expectations. We stand hand in hand as we face on endless possibilities. Let's run away, let's run away, let's run away, let's run away. Scream loud in my bones, wanna hear you. Come close to my body, wants to feel you. My heart's ablaze, oh, I'm so amazed. When the thunder and lightning reach you, hold me tight and we'll make it through. Make it through, oh, it's all for you. This town is all we've known. We need to break out on our own. Let's sail to far-off destinations, cast away and shed our expectations. We stand hand in hand as we face on endless possibilities. Let's run away, let's run away, let's run away, let's run away, let's run away.
Yeah, he asked for feedback on the synth part of the song, but I can't really... I feel like the synth is kind of buried. I mean, it's in there, and it sounds okay. The song is well written, you know, straightforward. I'd probably take a Scotia reverb off the vocals, too. That's just my perspective. Like, I can understand stylistically what he was going for, but felt like a bit too far on the vocal reverb for me. It sounded kind of hollow compared to the rest of the song. But otherwise, the song was well arranged, well organized. Pretty good mix. Lurch. Next song. Yeah, the synth or the guitar effect on that's pretty neat, causing lots of neat panning effects going on in there. Sounds pretty good. All right, JP Mackey Music.
There's something hiding the tip of your tongue. The harder you hold it, faster it's undone. Can't decide whether I can sleep anymore. This house keeps on creaking. There's a chill to the floor, but summer it comes in. Won't you stay for a while? Will you draw back these curtains? Will you sing like a child? But I dreamed you first. Yeah, I dreamed you first. Deja vu.
I don't have much else to say about that. Really well done. Really solid guitar playing. Vocals sound great. The balance on the mix is really good. Sounds really good. All right, what do we got? This feels a ton like the soundtrack to 28 Days Later, with the kind of muted electric guitar, and the choice of notes feels like it could fit right into that soundtrack. This is really well done as well. Lots of good stuff. I'm trying to get through as many of them as I can because I'm not going to be streaming too much longer. Really good job by Taylor Vance there. I like that a lot. Reminds me again a lot of the 28 Days Later soundtrack, kind of similar feel to the whole vibe. Elvis Von Fonz.
Ya basta, 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 ya basta. Only you can help. Ya basta, ya basta, ya basta. Only you can save. Ya basta, ya basta, ya basta. Yet I still fall down. Ya basta, ya basta, ya basta. Yet I misbehave. Ya basta, ya basta. Enough already. Ya basta. I've had enough. Ya basta. Enough already. Ya basta. I've had enough. Ya basta. Enough already. Ya basta. I've had enough. Ya basta. Enough already. Ya basta. I've had enough. Ya basta. Only you can free. Ya basta. Ya basta. only you can lift. Yet I still feel down. Yet I make these riffs. Enough already.
Yeah, this feels a lot like stuff I would hear on the 80s new wave station, like kind of stretchy in there, very droning, very 80s sounding synths going on there. This feels so much like Motorhead in German. Like, he's not quite as low as Lemmy, but definitely has like a Motorhead quality. That's why I said in the comment too, of course, if it's in German and it's metal or punk sounding, Rammstein's the immediate comparison. But this doesn't sound like that. It just sounds almost straight like Motorhead in German to me, which is a good thing. Joy Camp, who's probably my best friend. This is other people's feedback here. This isn't my song. So I'm listening to the other entries for Song a Week thus far for this week. So this is Joy Camp. Dig it. So this was probably the guy I'm closest to in the songwriting group. So very, very cool stuff. There's always a good time for feedback, though. This is really well mixed, is my general feel of what I'm thinking as I'm listening to this song. Yeah, feel free to give some feedback. Happy to give whatever you got. Hey, 3 hour works, whatever works. I think this is really well done, this mix that we have here. No, send the link. Happy to listen to it. Basically, that's what I'm doing right now, is listening through the Song a Week stuff that we've got here. Feel free. Happy to play stuff on the stream. My buddy Joy Camp. I'm going to finish this one up real quick. I did that. Hold on. Let me find where that is. Spam protection. I'm going to disable that. I don't care about emotes. There you go. Fixed. Sorry about that. The default for Nightbot when I added it in the room. That's kind of funky. As always, by Joy Camp, really well done, really solid mix. I actually like his chorus more on that than I would normally like that stuff. Send your link if you want some feedback. Happy to give you whatever feedback I've got. Share it with the few people that actually watch this stream right now. But the hope is, as I continue to produce stuff here on the channel, work on things on the channel, then I will do that to referee. Right now what I'm doing is I'm part of a songwriting group that is called Song a Week on subreddit. Highly recommend it to everybody here who is a songwriter, a musician, or performer, or streamer, or whatever you are, to check these out here and be part of that referee. Don't know why that's there, but I'm getting through this. I really, in the middle of the mix there, because Joy Camp's mixes are always solid. He always has such good guitar work. And what's going on right there? Oh, it's just above my last message. Why is it not showing me the link? Send it one more time. For some reason, it's not showing me the link there. It may have been spam protection or something that I had on. I just disabled the timeout and whitelist links. Maybe it puts it somewhere else. This is what happens when you stream and you're old and your Nightbot doesn't work right. Try one more time. Sorry about that. Not sure why that is. While I'm waiting, I'm going to go into... Oh, there it goes. Now I see it. Alright, so this is Dark Matters. Let's take a listen to what we got here. Alright, hold on. I'll put this up here. Check it. Follow, give you a follow here.
That you set the pace.
So overall, tonal balance is really good. Everything you've got here. The one thing I would think, and you can even kind of see it in your wave right here, is we want that when that chorus punches in, you want it to have more weight than the rest of the song. So there's only a couple of ways to do that. You can do it with volume and slight or automation that you've got in here, so don't expect bridges or intros. It's cool. Don't worry, it doesn't have to be done. But I would want that chorus to really punch in hard when it comes in. So like,
what are you waiting for?
well, for what you have here as far as the idea, first of all, keep in mind that everything in mixing and music production comes down to opinion. So first of all, you're listening to somebody that I'm a rock and electronic artist. So my style is going to be a little bit different than other people who are giving you feedback on this. If you don't follow my friend, and I think that's actually where I know you from, Unofficial Tony P, you need to check out Tony P's stream because this is right up his alley. I'm pretty sure it's just twitch.tv/unofficial Tony P. He's a guy that, first of all, mixes this genre day in, day out. So I'm going to post that in the chat right now. So if you don't follow Tony, who has a huge following in here, you should follow him because his style of music is pop, trap, rap, what you've got going in there. So first of all, check him out. Make sure you follow and subscribe to him if you don't already. Check that out. Song-wise, though, I think what you got going here, the idea is really strong. I think that, obviously, the tonal balance, the mix overall, what you got going on there is good. The only thing I would keep doing, even from a volume perspective, is we want this volume to be more consistent across this chorus as it punches in here. I think that this right here, this escalation, so there's a couple of ways that I might approach this if I were working with it. So obviously I want this escalation to ramp up in, which you can kind of see what's going on as it's coming in right here. But as you're playing with it, just have it punch a little bit harder in here. Oh, hold on. So first of all, thanks. Oh, it's probably your internet. No big deal. So let's listen to that again and give some ideas right here. So thank you very much. I think that was my very first follow, if somebody just followed. So let's listen to this again.
What are you waiting for?
So again, for here, there's a couple of ways we could get that desired effect to have that punch in. You could work with volume automation is the first one, which it looks like you're already doing because overall the volume of the track is so much higher here. So you probably would be playing with compression in here to get that punch and have that consistent elevation on what you have in the chorus right there. So that's probably going to be the tool that you're going to use to get that straight up. Somebody else, feel free to send the other song in. Happy to listen to that. I saw what you had in there. I didn't see your link come across, so send that or PM it to me. But other than that, I think that tonally, overall, what you got here, super good. As you get stronger with the idea sent to me. Sounds good. But that's the hardest part of, I think, with pop music is because you're not working as much in the musical sense where you can play, you can add more instruments or you can play more with what you've got there. You've got to focus on the rises and falls of the mix and the rises and falls in the music here, which is really the toughest thing about pop music. Most people think, and even me, again, as I said, I'm a rock musician. So for me, I'm focused on the instrumentation and I'm focused on ways that I can elevate the song that way. And generally it's going to be the playing that happens there. But in pop, you know, everything about the mix itself, everything about the kicks, everything about how you're using your vocals, how you're layering. But pop, a lot of it is going to come down to usage of your compression and usage of your automation for what you've got in here. So I'm not working on an original song right now. I was earlier, so I'm probably turn that off. How do I disable my recording? I was recording earlier on today's stream, which most of this stream, what you're going to see here, has to do with the recording process and the mixing process after I've recorded, since I do all the instruments and such myself. But there was someone else who said they had a song they wanted me to listen to. I've been listening to songs from the Song a Week mix right now, but I'm happy if somebody wants me to give any feedback or ideas or thoughts on what I've got here. Feel free to send me the link. That came from Avenged. What's his SoundCloud right here? Dark Matters 2. Do you have public stuff in here? If so, check out his stuff over here. Dark Matters 2. From London. So check out his SoundCloud there. Thank you so much for the follow. Whoever that was. I didn't see the notice on the screen that you had there. There was someone else who said they had a song. If not, I'm going to keep listening to our Song a Week thread, which for those of you who are wondering what I was listening to or where those artists came from. Oh, that is you. You changed names. Overall, I think the song is really good. Now, do you do your own... Is that mostly done with your own synth or with loops, or how do you do that? Nothing fishy. The devil's in the chat. That's cool. Satan is telling us what to do. But check out Tony P's channel too. Because, again, he's somebody... You own synths, same as me. So I use hardware synths. So, awesome. But yeah, check out his channel too if you don't follow him already. That's where I said I think I know you from there. Nice. So that was yours. Okay, send your song. Silent the Nexus. Nice. I mostly stick with the complete instruments at this point. So if I'm using synths, it's FM8, Absinthe, Razor. Nice. Your mix is solid, man. All right, while we're waiting for the next one, let's continue in Song a Week. Let's see what we got over here. MXMR, who's another one I listen to a lot in here. Let's see what he's got for us this week.
I'll sail for miles and miles at sea, back to Paris to see your face again. Further from you than when I blocked you. Bloody hand marks and broken windows. Workers in queues type their way to fluorescent lights off and desperados.
The theme for this week's songwriting challenge was foreign language. That's why there's so many songs in German and French and all that stuff. This is in French.
Et pour revoir ton visage, plus loin de toi que quand je t'ai bloqué. Traces de mains sanglantes sur les murs. Workers in queues type their way to fluorescent lights off and desperados.
That guitar probably sits a bit too loud on top of the mix for me. It's almost disruptive to what has a pretty mellow feel overall. Like, it's a pretty mellow song, so obviously I see he's going for a cleaner effect, but that felt...
I will leave tomorrow if you ask me.
So see, like, check that out overall as you listen to the mix. It's not so bad that it's abrasive or anything like that, but it's just a bit too far on top of what's happening with the mood of the rest of the track. Just felt a little bit off.
Alonzi, please just say the word.
Overall, the mix and everything he's got going here is really solid, really well done. Just the biggest thing, as I said, is I probably would make a different choice with that guitar. I might put, and there's a couple ways you could push it back. You don't just have to do it with volume. Obviously, volume's the easiest way to push it back, but you might be able to play with some reverb effects. You might be able to do something there, compress it a little bit. I don't know that I'd compress much on this track because it's really relying on dynamic range to get the feel that it has. So I don't know that I would go that far. But I think that the job he did overall, other than that guitar piece, that's the one piece of critical feedback I would give is to that. But I think that's really well done. All right, let's check out Sky Zone Freeze. So again, for those of you just joining, what we're talking about is the Song of Week submissions from Reddit's Song of Week. If you're a songwriter or a music producer and you're not part of this group, you should be. I write new songs every week. That's what I was doing earlier in the stream. Right now I'm going through and listening and giving constructive feedback and thoughts to what I hear on these mixes here. So this is BGM. I think that, does that mean background music? Probably. Let's see. Good point there, Avenged. I know, that's the challenge of Song a Week. They have a song a month. I don't think they have a song every 2 weeks. So to me, I'm a perfectionist. I brought this up earlier. So no matter what, there's no such thing as enough time for a mix. Like today, you already heard me when I was working on my track earlier today. It's really tough. And that's what I was saying. There's a difference between a good mix and a good enough mix. A good mix is something you can work on forever. A good mix is something that you do in a professional studio where you work on it for forever. But it's a good point. Week to 2 weeks, I think, is fine. The biggest thing is if the time that's spent mixing and mastering is getting in the way of what it takes to actually put songs out and produce songs, that's where the issue happens. Part of the reason for me is I was somebody that I took a 10-year break from songwriting. Like, I've had the gear, I've had the stuff, and for the most part it sat around collecting dust because I'm a person that I'll spend so long working on the mix and so long fussing and tweaking and working with these things that it just doesn't work out. So understandable if Song a Week doesn't work for you. You don't necessarily have to do the Song a Week. But the one thing I would say is if you're like me, Song a Week's really helpful because it helps you get stuff done. Like, you've got to get stuff done. All right, I'm going to admit this isn't my favorite genre. I say that a lot, which again, to me, one exercise I've learned to do while giving feedback about Song Week, I mentioned this earlier for those of you that missed it, is that I always try to say what stands out to me as a good thing about the mix or the songwriting overall. This is pretty calm, which again, there's the right mood and the right environment for calmer music. I feel like this is a bit repetitive for what's happening here. There isn't enough dynamics going on or enough in the mix or ear candy or whatever you want to call it that's keeping it interesting enough for me to really want to go too much further for what we've got here. So obviously mix is really solid. Personally, I'd like to have a little more dynamics behind the intro to the song to keep it totally interesting. All right, so that's my feedback on what we've got there, is that I think that just from my perspective, it's not a bad song, and it's, again, you can tell the difference between like I recorded this on my cell phone or I recorded it on What's Here. Just isn't doing a whole lot for me, and it goes on for 4 minutes, so that's enough. Scooby Ben, probably one of my favorites here. Let's hear what he's got. Overall, he always does very solid mixes. The big thing that's standing out to me here that I want a little bit more of are drums. I feel like the snare in particular is pretty lost in this mix.
You brought me sweet things. You were my...
Like here, when I can see what he was probably thinking as he was doing it or recording it, because without the heavy guitars over it, the snare is still kind of standing out. It's the same issue I had with my mix when I was working with it earlier today, is the snare sounded a little bit dull. In this, he's got this kind of big, trashy reverb sound to it, but it's getting lost with all the instruments in it.
Brought me sweet things, you were my everything. You whispered sweet nothings in my ear. Now you're nothing, can't tell you anything. And it's begun to feel like you were never here. It's like you speak another language when you're with me. I talk but you don't hear it. It's like you speak another language when you're with me. It's like I speak another language when I'm with you. I talk, but I'm just not getting through. It's like I talk another language when I'm with you.
The guitar sound on that is solid. Really well done guitar. Just feels like the snare is getting a little lost to me. Like the beat that's pushing the song forward. Even like, let's listen just for the kick. Yeah, like even the kick is not pushing the speakers. There's an effect a lot of mixers will talk about, which is pushing the speakers. Obviously, we listened to some pop music or some hip-hop style music earlier. We're listening to that, like obviously the beat has to drive the song. In rock, it's different because your bass and your guitar are driving the song, but you still gotta quote-unquote move the speakers. Like I can look visually at my speakers and see that the kick isn't moving them a ton here. So the drum mix overall would be where I would be spending time if this were my song. Again, the guitar sound is so solid, and I can tell, again, as somebody that writes music like this, like why the guitar was the focus here, because the guitar is driving the song, which is awesome. It's what we want, but hey. I think the snare was getting lost a little bit here. All right, what else we got? Junior Elvis, who normally does pretty good work. Let's see what he's got here.
We're in the mountains, we're at the border. I put my hand in my pocket and take it out. You didn't notice, we're on the border. I take your hand in my hand and I bend down. I bend down and say, one knee's in France, it says je t'aime. My other knee says te amo, all the way from Spain. One knee in France, one knee in Spain. One knee says te amo, the other je t'aime. Te amo, je t'aime. Te amo, je t'aime. I pop the ring on to your finger. I pop the question in English and watch your mouth. You bend towards me and whisper softly one little word in each ear. We unsee, we unsee, we unsee. One knee in France says je t'aime. My other knee says te amo, all the way from Spain. One knee in France, one knee in Spain. One knee says te amo, the other je t'aime. Te amo, je t'aime. Te amo, je t'aime.
Always really solid work from him. One thing, he's probably similar to me in this regard in that he really sticks to his genre, which is kind of less, it's got folk roots, but what I like about his stuff is that it tends to be a little bit less droning. There's more interesting guitar parts going on and more interesting vocals going on right there. So I just double checked what we've got left. I think we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've still got quite a few songs left to do, probably like 8 to 10 songs here. But I think I'm good for where I'm at with this week's track, or with, what I'm doing for today. Might come back tomorrow and listen to the rest of these. But for those of you that missed it thus far, let's remember where we landed this week on In Deepest Dreams, and then maybe we'll start work on the new one tomorrow as well. But I'm going to go ahead and play us out with the new mix of In Deepest Dreams for this week. Let's make sure it works. Nope. All right, we'll just listen to it on SoundCloud since I'm already set up for that.